Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to kickinthecreatives.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome to today's episode, and today we're going to chat about the highs and lows of being an artist. But before we get onto that, thank you so much to everyone who's been sharing the work they've been doing for the challenges on social media. Keep them coming. We love seeing what you're doing. And also a huge thank you to our latest Ko-fi supporters. Your support shows us that you like what we do and you'd like us to continue. And we're going to thank each of you personally at the end of the show.
I'm just going to ask you, why did you decide it was going to be called the highs and lows? What was wrong with the art roller coaster that I thought of?
Well, you can change it if you like. I don't know. The art roller coaster. Are you? Oh, okay. Are you putting your foot down? Okay. It's the art.
Yes,
okay.
I am.
I need to change that to. We're going to chat about the. What was it? The
Art roller coaster.
Art roller coaster that we find ourselves on as artists.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Go on.
But to go back to the proper notes, and finally, thank you to our sponsor Evolve. Evolve can teach you how to paint in a realism style to a professional level in a year or less, and for the fraction of the price of art school. Not only do they give you all the lessons and the support online, but they also send all the materials that you need. And if you want to learn more about them, you can go and watch a free webinar from Evolve by going to kickinthecreatives.com/Evolve webinar. And you can hear even more by going back and listen to previous podcast episodes 67 and 73. Anyway, Sandra, what is new on the art roller coaster with you?
Okay, so still working away on my cupcake. God, it seems to be taking forever, this one. And it's sort of frustrating because the strawberry and the cream and the cake itself are very... Well, they are done, all but the final little details, which are the very end bits that, you know, are my favourite bits to do. But because the muffin case is gold, there's a lot of colours, isn't there, in gold, and there's a lot of tones, and in order to make it quite sharp and crinkly looking, I can't blend, but I'm finding that just to get to to get that final mid layer done on this muffin case is taking me forever because there's so many small areas to work on. So yeah, it is looking good though. I am pleased with it. And
I don't like that word, muffin case.
Muffin case. Dare I ask why?
It sounds rude, doesn't it?
What?
Don't
okay. Yeah,
Carry
move on. I don't know how your mind works, Tara. You always find rude things in some of the things I say. But yeah, what should I call it then?
Cake case. What do we call them over here? I can't think.
Fairy cakes.
No, what do we call the cases thing, though, when
I
you buy
don't know,
them?
because I'm not a baker, really. I don't bake, so I don't know what they're called.
No.
I thought they were called muffin cases. But,
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, so
Cake
I'm working
cases,
on
I
this.
think. Yeah.
I'm working on this cake case, and I am very happy with how it's going. But I have realised that this cake case is going to probably take more time than the rest of it altogether, just to get that looking good. I did actually put a question out on Instagram to the viewers, because you work on something and in the end you're blind to it, aren't you? You're like, I've stopped seeing.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking, oh my God, does this actually look gold? Because this cake case is actually gold. It's not paper. I mean, I don't mean solid gold. You know what I mean? Like a metallic gold thingy. And I was like, oh God, is it reading as gold? Because I'd stopped seeing it. Do you know what I mean? So I had all these different colours in it, thinking, oh, is it reading as gold? So I put a question up on Instagram, and everybody came back and said, yeah, definitely gold. So I was pleased with that, and I turned away from it for a couple of days, and I'm working back on it again now, because it was still at a very crude stage then when I put that up. So hopefully the next time I put it out there, it'll be looking a bit better. And then it'll just be those final highlights, which I love. You know, those tiny little touches that just make it go ping, you know? That's the bit I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing that. However, we have been so busy here with so much going on, and I'm talking about social events, as in not all good, you know, but some christenings and funerals and all sorts of things. So lots and lots of things going on. So we've had lots of that. So it has eaten into the time I'd probably be in the art room, to be honest. So, and I've still got about another 3 weeks of loads of stuff going on as well. But I'm hoping in that time I can kind of get that done, which would be good. And the other thing that's new with me is I have been writing some poetry. I told you that last time, didn't I?
Yeah, you did say you'd started it, yeah.
Well, I did. I think at that point I had written a poem. Anyway, it kind of inspired like a whole load of them. And I say a whole load of them. I think I've done about 5 now. And I really enjoy it. I'm like, I could write a little book of poetry. I really, really enjoy working with words. So that's been fun. That's been quite a little outlet, actually.
What about collaging them into something?
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you should say that, because I thought a few people have been journaling, and I've been more back on Instagram recently. You know, I did that sort of TikTok for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really off TikTok at the moment because the algorithm on there is shot to ribbons anyway, and there's so little engagement on TikTok. You put something on Instagram and the level of engagement where people actually speak to you and message you and say, oh, this, that and the other. I mean, that question I asked the other day, if I'd have put that on TikTok, I wouldn't have got a single person come back and say, yes, I'm pretty sure of that. So whereas Instagram, I've really realised how much I miss that engagement with people. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, though. Why was I talking about Instagram? Oh, yes, that's right, because I've been back on Instagram.
Oh, the poetry.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't put that on there, but because I've been back on Instagram, I've been, you know, my feed is full of all these, you know, artists' work, and a lot of them are journaling, and it's like, oh, that looks great, and maybe I could write my poems in a book, and, you know, in a journal fashion with sort of either illustrations or collage or something like that as another kind of little creative outlet. So
you said you wanted to start doing sketching and stuff, didn't you?
Well, yeah. Do you know, this is another thing, right? Because my sketching, I've just got really out of the habit over the last sort of few months. So I really want to get back into the sketching. So I've been drawing a bit, and I've decided I want to sort of do it daily again. Anyway. And you know that whole thing, we're like, oh, what shall I draw? Which we all have. And do you know what? I thought to myself, what I need to do is just be able to sit down and mind-numbingly not think of what to draw, but just copy something that someone else has done, just so I've got it there and I'm doing it. And all it is I've got a Chris Riddell book. We interviewed him, actually, didn't we? I've got a few of his books, actually, and I love his drawings. And he's got, what I love about Chris Riddell is his mark making. He's got this, these marks are amazing that he makes. So I've got this book, and I thought, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open his book, and I'm just going to copy every single drawing in that book until I'm done. And then that will remind me of, well, not remind me, but that'll just get me into the habit of making the time to do it again without having to think of what to do. I'm not going to be sharing them, obviously, because they're not my drawings. Well, they are, but they're copies of someone else's, so I wouldn't do that. But it's just a good way as well of getting into the mind of some other artist that you really admire and kind of
copyist
learning.
June, isn't it?
Yeah, a little
like
bit.
Copyist.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you really like someone's work, there's nothing wrong with trying to get into their mind by doing it yourself, and then not then using their style forevermore at all. But I think it then can enhance your own style. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've just been doing a bit of that, which I've really enjoyed. That's been fun. What about you, Tara? What is new with you?
Well, I've been busy putting together another print promo campaign. Do you remember I did it before where I did this free plus postage and packing print offer?
Yeah.
I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that, which has taken a bit of time to get the sort of websites up and everything. And then I'm just sharing that on Facebook first, and then I'm going to run some Facebook ads to it. What else have I been doing? Oh, been getting some paintings and prints ready to show in a localish gallery. But it's like a gallery owned by the council. It's a museum and gallery owned by the local council.
Yeah.
But a friend went in there and she said, I went and got his name for you and everything. You should try and put your stuff in here. And I was feeling quite positive about it. And then I said, this was before Christmas, and he's come back now and he's got a space now. And he said, I said to him, which can I send you my work? He's already seen some of it online, and you could tell me which is probably a best fit for your audience. So I sent him a PDF for some of my work, and he comes back and he goes, to be honest, we rarely sell anything worth a few £100. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just very rare. Our average spend is £1.
Oh my God! So they're a pound shop.
Well, I assume it's because it's a museum, I guess.
Right.
So you'll get a lot of people at museum and gallery. So you'll get a lot of people who are just having a look around the museum. Do you know what I mean? And they'll probably buy a postcard or something from the museum.
God.
But I then changed drastically. He says, maybe. I said, I don't really want to pay out and getting some more pieces framed up. You know,
what
in
about
that
little
case.
postcards?
Well, what I've done is, he said, how about, because I've got some that are already framed, I'm going to take those. And then he said, how about framing a few prints? So I just bought some really cheap frames and put some prints in them. So I'm going to take those as well. But yeah, I mean, he says, think of it more, this is on an email, think of it more as a showcase.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But you could get some postcards done. And maybe have a whole selection, a whole series in postcards, and maybe he can.
Well, I've got small prints, so little A5 prints.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I can put some loose as well if I wanted.
Yeah. Pound
but
each.
it's still not going to be £1.
No,
But,
it costs more than that for the paper. It's crazy.
I know. Well, they're just like, oh God, do you know what I mean? It's like I said to Kevin, I don't know whether to bother doing this or not. And he goes, yeah, do it. He says, because you never know. You don't know. For a start, somebody might go in and buy something. You don't know who's in there, going in there. But also, you don't know if someone will see it and then tell someone else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he said, look, there's no harm in it, is there? So it's not like it does me any harm by having it in there.
No.
So, but there you go. And what else? Yesterday I had to go at another street scene.
Do you know what I saw? Really... Is this one that's on the long sort of 90 centimetre canvas that I saw? It's all red, blues and pinks. Yeah, that looks amazing.
Yeah, it's not finished.
Already.
That was only the start.
Yeah. I've only seen that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen how it's progressed. Is it going well?
Yeah, I haven't shown it yet.
No.
I don't know. I think I may have gone a bit too loose because, I don't like when I'm doing these things, right? What some people would probably do is, draw it out first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that makes it a bit boring if I draw it out first. So I just I put a point roughly where the perspective was going to go to.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then I just went for it. But I think I may have gone too loose and kind of lost it a little bit, if you know what I mean. As in, it's too wibbly wobbly.
Oh, well, let you not be the judge of that, because
the
artists never are. Yeah, well, listen to Kevin. He's speaking as a viewer, you're speaking as an artist, so you're never going to be the best judge. I can't wait to see that.
The car looks a bit like tipped on the side.
Right. Yeah, but I think sometimes things like quirks like that make something really interesting, don't they? And not so boring.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I didn't actually draw it. It's just very, very, do you know what I mean? Blobby.
Yeah, I didn't see a car. I just saw a building with columns and big archways. So you weren't that far, I don't think, when I saw it.
No. It's had a few layers since then.
But how nice to work on something completely different. So it's not like you to do a street scene, is it?
I've done it once before because my mum's got it. I did it probably 6 months or so ago, a smaller one. And I thought, you know what, I just really fancy it.
They're the ones that go well when you fancy doing something.
Yeah. Just let him rip and almost like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But, you know, let's try it. And I still haven't dare. I went for this, it's quite a big, I told you it's 91 by 61, but I've still got this massive canvas and I was going to do it on there and then I chickened out.
91 by 71?
61.
Oh, okay, right. 91 by
71. Yeah, so just a bit less than a metre.
Oh, right. What about your big one that you've bought?
The big canvas I'm scared to do is 1.5 metres by 1 metre.
All right, God, that is really big, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I thought when I do that one, I need when I do the really big one, I need the dog out the way because otherwise the dog is going to be covered in paint.
Yeah. Maybe he can add his little bit to it.
Yeah, but he'll end up with being pink, won't he? With pinks. So,
yeah. Maybe wait till he's at doggy daycare.
It doesn't go anymore, but no, I could just shut him out for a bit while I do it.
Yeah. Okay,
anyway,
well, if you've got
chat?
Yeah, let's move on then. So we're talking about the roller coaster. And by that, of course, we mean highs and lows, don't we, at the end of the day, of being an artist. There are plenty of both. If there wasn't any highs, obviously none of us would do it, would we? But do you know what one of my favourite things about being an artist is buying new tools and materials. And especially when you're a bit, at the moment, like I've been out of that habit of sketching. So I'm like, right, what can I buy to make me want to, get involved again? And so I bought these pens and I bought this Conti crayon and I think I bought about 3 or 4 different implements to try out. And it's like, so exciting. It really is.
Have you tried them yet?
Yeah, one of them had it and I didn't like it.
Oh.
So I would say that, when you're buying something, quite often what happens is you buy something and you think that it's going to have this kind of magical power, don't you? Because you've seen someone else who you really admire using this, that automatically, if you have that very same pencil and that very same sketchbook, that yours is going to somehow be like that. And what happens is you get it and then you're like, right, I'm going to try that. It looks so easy. And then you do it and you're like, oh. It didn't make it the same.
Need more practice.
And that's because it's not actually coming from that person at the end of the day. It's coming from you. So it's always going to be different. But that's a real example of a high and a low. You're going out and you're like, oh, though, you don't see so many of them now. But when you go past like an art material shop and there's just pens everywhere. I'm a real sucker for a pen. I love a pen. I've got so many pens and dip pens I love and things like that. And I could spend hundreds, if I had hundreds to spend on pens and it didn't make any difference to me, I would. I don't know why, because a pen's a pen, If you're good at drawing, you can use a biro. It doesn't really make any difference. But, there's something about being in an art shop and seeing all of these art materials, and it reminds me exactly of that thing, being a child in a sweet shop where you're like just wide-eyed and like, oh my gosh, these things are amazing. And so buying new tools and materials, that's definitely a high for me, but a low is when you realise that just because you have that new art tool or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you or you're going to like it or it's going to make you a better artist, because that won't happen. But that's that, it's that moment of realisation is a bit of a low. But anyway, let's concentrate on the buying new tools and materials. Yay, I love it.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I've got this thing, and I can't remember. Oh, they're called Art Graph, and they're like a tailor's chalk type thing.
Right.
And I bought one, and I don't use it that often because they're incredibly messy.
Yeah.
Because I will tend to dip it into water and it's water soluble And then because it's like you know what a tailor's chalk is, don't you?
No.
Like a little square.
Yeah, and you talk
like
on, I don't know.
It's like a chalk, but it's kind of flat.
Is it like a calligraphy chalk thing?
No. I can't remember what sort of... I think they're like a square with round corners, I think they are.
Okay.
Or that sort of shape, but they're flat, a flat chalk.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use them to sort of draw with, but obviously you have to be quite broad.
Yeah.
But then I saw this. I went to the Kettering sketching thing quite a few months ago actually, and there was a woman and she'd taken hers with her, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe she's brought this out sketching, because I would have just about been covered head to toe in this material. But of course she was managing to use it very carefully on her sketchbook. I don't even know if she added water to it, but it just makes me laugh how different people approach things. How I wouldn't have even dreamt of taking that sketching, which is kind of weird.
It obviously worked for her, though.
Yeah, she was doing quite well with it. I mean, what new materials then have you bought and loved, and what have you bought and hated?
Well, I mean, I think what I've bought and hated, first of all, was that Pentel Japanese brush pen. That would be an example of when I bought it because I'd seen people use it and thought, oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful. I love the look of that. I'm going to buy one. And then I absolutely hated it, like really hated it. Didn't like it at all. Thought, I can't control this. It's just awful. Big black marks that are not anything like I expected. And then a few months later, I tried it again and then realised, oh, it's not quite so bad actually. Actually, maybe. And then now I really love it. So that's like an example of where you sort of... I think you have to try things more than once sometimes, don't you? You know, you can't just...
I had a mouthful of squash.
But yeah, so that is... Yeah, that's an example of something I've bought and really hated. But then again, I then ended up liking it. So...
Yeah.
And there's other things, obviously, I've bought and I've really liked. I loved my Lamy Joy pen with a big, broad nib. And funny enough, I remember you buying it and hating it. And then you really love it now, don't you? So it's another thing where you buy it.
Yeah, I don't use it much. But yes, I like the idea that you can make these thick and thin lines with it.
Yeah. But you hated it at first, didn't you?
Yeah, I did hate it, yeah.
The one thing I cannot love... and I can't even make friends with, is the chunky marker. I've never liked the chunky marker. And this is the one where...
The near colours either?
No, I don't like those, no. No, I don't like anything like that. These are things that you've introduced to me.
Yeah.
And just don't work for me.
I think I introduced you to the brush pen, didn't I, as well?
No. Oh, I don't know. You might have done, actually. Yeah, you might have done.
I think I had it in London.
Yeah, and I think...
watercolour markers. I introduced you to those, I think.
Yeah, I quite like those. I want to try some of those Posca pens, you know, with the really bright Posca pens I want to try.
The mops. You've got to try the mop.
Oh, the mops. Oh, I don't know about the mops. I'm talking about more like the markers.
Oh, yeah. But
for sketching.
Want to try Posca mop, you'll hate it.
Oh, well, I could always try it next time we meet up, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I quite fancy trying some real bright, really, really bright colours. Yeah.
I mean, they're good as well for laying down, like, a bit of colour across the page. Any of the Poscas, the thicker ones.
Yeah.
Just to use as a background, even.
Expensive, aren't they?
Quite nice. Yeah, they are. Ask for Christmas.
They're one of my many things, my many art materials in my Amazon basket, which remain in my basket. Yeah.
Shall I go on to the next one?
Yeah, go on.
And that is when you decide to sort of set aside some time for making some art in your studio, your room, or wherever you make your art. Because it's lovely, isn't it? The idea, like, tomorrow I'm going to do some painting. And I do this all the time. And I'll come downstairs and I've walked the dog and everything and I'm all ready. And I've got all my art kit on. So I'll have my jumper that's covered in paint, my jeans that are covered in paint. And I think, before I do the painting, I'm just going to have a little check of my email. I'm just going to do a couple of other bits I need to do. And then I find myself at 12 o'clock I haven't done any painting. Knowing you, you'll be cleaning. So the positive thing would be that planning it, and that negative thing is that you've actually messed about, done other things, sometimes because you're actually scared of doing that painting in case it goes wrong, and then you've actually done nothing.
Yeah, sometimes it's just procrastination, isn't it? And being distracted, I mean, that is devastating, isn't it? When you had that time set out and it's the one time in your calendar you had, right, this is the 4 hours of time that I've got, and then it goes. And I don't know about you, but for me, if I haven't got around to starting to paint before, say, 1 o'clock, or even sort of a bit earlier than that, 12 o'clock, I quite often think, oh, it's too late now. I haven't got enough time. And and that's another thing, though. It's not really because I haven't got enough time. It's because I'm disappointed with myself because I haven't done it, and now I'm never going to get to the stage I would have been today, so I might as well not bother. I get angry with myself.
Yeah,
but
I have this thing about the afternoon as well. I do not like starting a painting in the afternoon.
I'm like that.
It's all right if I'm finishing it, so if I've started one, that's fine. I can work on it after lunch. Yeah. But I don't like starting one after lunch.
No, I'm kind of with you there. I think everybody has like a creative cycle, if you like, as in this 24-hour period in which maybe 4 of them you feel at your most creative, and mine would be in the morning, really. Mine would be sort of between 9 and 12. That would be the time when I'm really... And then by 1, I'm still right into it, but I might have to put on a podcast or some music to just try and keep me going for a bit. And then by 1, I start really flagging. And then by 2, I'm like, no, I'm done. If I start at 1, I'm already at the point where I'm nearly sort of flagging. My energy levels drop in the day, over the day. And it's weird, isn't it? Because there's nothing to stop me still going in there. But for some reason, at a certain point, I won't.
Yeah.
Maybe I will sketching, I'll draw or something. But, but it is so disappointing when you've done that. And that's the problem with checking emails or flicking your phone open just to make sure that no one's... Or it's not even to make sure that anyone's contacted you. It's literally you flick it on. It's more of a habit sometimes. You just sort of flick your phone on and you think, oh, gosh, I've got an email. Oh, I must quickly have a look at that. Or I must... I must quickly reply to that person. And before you know it, you've gone down a rabbit hole, because then the next thing is, this is one of the things I'm guilty of, right? This is where I am, because I'm a bit funny on social media. I go through ups and downs. I go through times when I'm on it a lot and then times when I'm not. But when I am into it, quite often I'll go into the art studio and I'll get to my ease and I'll think, perhaps I'll do a post on where I'm at now and then where I'm at later. And before I know it, I'm setting up a camera and I'm thinking about a post I could make and taking a picture of my paints all sort of laid out, ready. And I think, God, I've been in here 40 minutes already. All I've done is an Instagram post. I haven't actually done it. I could have started this. I could have done 40 minutes of painting. And I'm very guilty of that myself.
Oh, I do that too. And I'll also start, because that's one of the things I'm guilty of, like starting, I'll do a marketing post, and then I think, right, just post that. And then I'll have another idea. I think, well, I might as well do that and I can schedule that for tomorrow. And then I'll make that one as well.
And it's so difficult, isn't it? Because social media, it is an important thing to do. I think there's probably ways of managing it a bit better. And maybe we could do an episode on this, really, of managing...
How badly we manage social media.
How badly we do it. Because we've always said, haven't we, when we need to know something, we'll do an episode.
Yeah, so we learn about it.
Yeah, maybe how to schedule things in a better way or manage things in a better way. I mean, there's probably nothing to stop me taking multiple photographs throughout the painting process, which is literally a snapshot, which won't take up much time and much setting up. But then maybe later on...
You could just leave your phone on the videoing the whole thing, and then just take some bits out of that as stills.
Yeah, or a time lapse or whatever, but something that doesn't
Yeah.
take up a lot of time and
Yeah.
you know, that you can still make posts out of, and it's still interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that not to get caught up in. So I suppose the trick is get up, make yourself a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever it is you do, and get your bum in front of the easel and start. Because the thing is, once you do start, that's it, isn't it? You feel good.
Yeah,
You're like,
starting's the hardest bit.
It really is, yeah. So another high, right, is that feeling of excitement that you get when you actually are starting something new. A bit like you've just started this street scene and you were like, oh, I really fancy trying that. And there's nothing better, is there, when you know you're really into this idea and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get started on this. I'm really looking forward to how this is going to go, because it's something you haven't tried before. And, you've got this big blank canvas, and in your head, you can see the finished piece, can't you? You're like, oh, yeah, this is going to be...
Do you know, I can't.
Oh, sometimes I can. Yeah, I love it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can see exactly what it's going to look like. And that's all very well if it actually ends up looking like you'd hoped, or even better than you hoped. I suppose my donuts were an example of that. That was a great high because, it was a subject I had been dying to work on because of the sort of dough and bread and the bubbles and, inside of the bread, and then the jam oozing out. I mean, it reminded me a bit of the egg. Do you remember the dippy egg and soldiers?
Yeah.
That I did. I kind of loved doing the toast, and I really loved that oozy egg yolk, and I'd kind of held on to that a bit, thinking one day I'm going to revisit something like that. And then somehow the idea of donuts came in, and I had that real excitement. I can't wait, because I'd been doing a lot of wine bottles, a lot of glass, a lot of marbles and things like that, and I really wanted to try something, challenge myself again really, and try something I hadn't done for a long time, or a subject I hadn't ever worked on before, which ended up to be these donuts. And the high of that was, not only did it turn out just how I'd hoped, but it turned out better than I'd hoped, and I absolutely love the painting, and I'm not going to sell it because of it. So that's great. That's a great high, and it's something that all artists will get from time to time. But of course, there's that other part to it, isn't there, when you're starting a new piece. And actually, you get frustrated when you realise that it's not actually going quite as you planned, and actually it's a lot harder than you thought, and oh gosh, it's a bit of a puzzle, and then you start losing confidence and it goes wrong. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I was thinking about, we always say about the messy middle.
Yeah.
Well, I painted, I think it's one you like actually, so quite a big one again, of a face in blue. And I think before you said you like it. But part way through that piece, it was like, I wrote about this on my Facebook. It suddenly looked like it had a Rod Stewart pink hairdo, pink spiky hairdo. And it was just these wavy pink marks. I just put these really expressive pink thing. And I looked at it and thought, oh my frigging God, what have I done? It looks ridiculous. And this is like, you can have those roller coasters throughout the painting, can't you? So it starts off all right, and then it looks like Rod Stewart. I like Rod Stewart, but I didn't want it to be Rod Stewart. And then by the end of it, I rescued it. And it's like, oh my God, how did it go from that to that?
Yeah. It's funny because some paintings just fall off the brush from start to finish, and it just works from the minute you start. All it ever does is improve until you've got a painting. You're like, yes, that's what I wanted. And there's other paintings that is a fight from start to finish, and you do eventually get there, but it's been a fight. It's really weird how it goes,
Yeah.
And it's a sort of, I suppose you can combine it. We were talking about feeling of, being excited when you start a new piece. There's also this other thing, isn't there, where you're actually frightened of starting something new. And often that comes after a painting like that, where, you've done a painting and it's been a battle, and then the next thing your confidence lowers, and then you kind of you're frightened of then starting the next thing, you know.
Yeah, or sometimes I think it does the opposite, because if you battle through it and it comes out really well, you perhaps think, oh, yeah. So it all depends on how you look at it, I guess.
Of course, there are times as well when you get a painting that doesn't work and you have to give up on it, and you might have spent a long, long time on it, but in the end you just think, I am not willing to put any more time into this because this is just killing my confidence, or the joy has gone. I just need to kick a hole in it and get it gone. That's happened, and that especially happens as when you're a beginner. It happens, quite a lot. As you get more experience, it happens less and less, but you still get the odd one where you're like, oh my god, no, I just can't spend any more time on this. It's just not happening.
Well, I'm going to go off of order now because I don't feel like one suits me, and I think it suits you more. So I'm going to go for the high of when you create a new piece and people say they love it. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this amazing reaction. And it will probably be the most response you've ever had on social media. And then you get these people messaging you or say, oh, please could you message me and tell me a price? And I'm saying this because this happened to me recently. Happened a few times. And you're like, oh my God. I'll get asked occasionally for a price, but this was, a lot. And so I'm sending prices out. And then crickets. Nothing happens. That's the low. And because you've had this brilliant response, all these inquiries, you think, someone's going to go for this. And then, no, nothing. So I don't know whether that's, it could be for so many different reasons as well, couldn't it? Because those people looking at it, maybe it's just totally out their price range. Yeah. Because who knows what someone charges? You could go to one artist and they'll have a piece, say, I don't know, A2 size, which probably most people don't know what that is now I've said it, but say 50 centimetres or something. So let's say a square of 50 centimetres. You go to one artist and say, oh, I really like that piece, and they might say, oh, that's £75. And then you go to another artist and they'll say that's 2,000. Yeah. And so these people that are approaching you probably have absolutely no idea how much that piece is going to be, do they?
Half the time the artists don't really have any idea of what they should be pricing things at.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to sell yourself short.
No.
But also you don't want to make it so high that no one's interested.
No, I mean, you want it to be accessible to people, don't you? But at the same time, especially when it comes to commissions and things like that, it's stressful. And, people don't take into account the amount of time you spend on just emailing back and forth to find out what they want and to kind of get a real good idea of what they're looking for. And all of that can take hours before you even think about buying a canvas. And that's your time at the end of the day, which you could be painting and doing other things. And so that's why it is expensive. But it's, like you say, you don't want to price yourself out. But at the same time, you've got to make it worth your while, because they are stressful commissions, aren't they?
The really weird thing I find on pricing as well is, like, I'll say to Kevin, and Kevin earns, quite good money, and I'll say to him, do you think this is too much for that? And he goes, no. And he'll go, if I went in a gallery and I saw a painting hanging on the wall and it was £100, say, he said, I'd assume it was no good.
So often the case, yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't necessarily, if he really liked it, but he'd assumed that it was by someone, who literally just started picking up a paintbrush and stuff. He wouldn't... People kind of judge... They judge how good it is, don't they, as well, by the price.
Which is why it is so confusing as an artist to price, because, I've been told on multiple occasions I should add a naught to all of the paintings on my site. Just add a naught. I was like, add a naught? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. I'm not going to do that. But that is.
I would love to see it if you did, because you might be surprised. I told you about that story, didn't I? Did I tell you about I think I might have mentioned this in the podcast before. There's a guy on YouTube that I listen to his videos. He's an artist, and he told the story about how someone said, "Oh, how much do you want for this one?" Because they were putting up prices for him. They were sorting out the exhibition, and he said, "Oh, £500." And they must have misheard him, so they put it up for £5,000, and that's the piece that he sold.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that is almost pretty much what people are telling you to do.
Yeah, but I'm not being funny, but like a 40 by 50 centimetre painting that is up for 650 would be 6,500. That's just ridiculous. But
yeah, but
essentially that's what people say to do.
Maybe it's not.
No, I mean, it is hard. It's very confusing. It's very, very confusing.
It is very confusing.
You know, I want people to be able to own a painting that they love. I don't want to make that inaccessible for people, but at the same time, like you say, you don't want people to think, oh, well, that must be a load of crap then, because it's,
yeah,
you know, yeah. Okay, so the other thing that is exciting for some artists and not others is that excitement of entering a competition. Like, oh, I'm going to enter a competition, and you get that like, oh, you know, you put it in, and you're like, oh, I wonder if I hear anything, or some people don't like that, obviously. But the problem is then you've also got that possible disappointment, probable disappointment that you will be rejected and you won't get into the competition.
Yeah.
Which is basically how it goes most of the time. And I think one of the things about being an artist that you do have to get your head around is rejection. A bit like, I suppose, if you're an actor, you know, you get rejected for far more roles than you get accepted for.
And that'd be a much worse rejection, because they're rejecting you, aren't they?
As a person, yeah. So that kind of like, I think it's because if you're entering a competition, you like what you're entering, you're pleased with it, you're proud of it. So that sort of in itself is a bit of a high, and you feel like it might be worthy of entering something. And then, of course, the other thing is sometimes you get in, and you may win, or you might get an award, or you might, I don't know, be a runner-up or get some prize or other, and it's amazing. It's like, wow, you know, it's such a high. Ultimately, though, it's just about the person who's looking at the painting. It doesn't mean to say the person standing next to them would have had come up with the same conclusion that it was worthy of a win or a lose or whatever. And that's the thing about competitions. I've always found them a bit strange. I'm not, even though I've entered them before, I don't necessarily agree with them, because how often do we watch things like Portrait Artist of the Year, Landscape Artist of the Year, and, you know, we're screaming at the telly going, oh my God, I cannot believe you picked that one over that one. And it's literally because one person will feel completely differently about what they're looking at than another person. It's what speaks to that person, isn't it, who's doing the judging. So I don't really agree with competitions. I don't think anybody should be told that their work is better than someone else's. And I don't feel like anyone should be told that their work isn't as good as someone else's, because that's all a load of old crap, isn't it, really? It's just about...
It's opinion.
It's opinion, and opinion only. So, but that doesn't mean that if you enter one and you get in, it doesn't give you a bit of a high, because it does. But ultimately, you've got to be real. It doesn't really mean much. It just really means that it does if you're going to win money or something. That's brilliant. It doesn't really mean you're better than the other people in the competition at all. It just means that the person who was looking at it saw something in it that the person, you know, that perhaps they didn't see in someone else's, and somebody else might have come to a different conclusion. But it is a high. It is a high if you win something, especially money. I'd love to win some money.
I think another potential high, and I don't know how I feel about this one either, is approaching a gallery, because you could have seen a gallery that you really like the work they've got. So, you know, you'll send... And I think it's much easier nowadays, because you used to have to actually walk in that gallery, show them your work face to face. Whereas at least now, most of them want you to initially just send them off some examples. So the rejection's just by email. But yeah, you get that anticipation. You send it off. You think, oh, I wonder if I'll get in here. But I think there's two sides to it. Even if you do get in, as we both know, it doesn't mean your stuff's going to sell.
No.
And even if you do get in, you've also got to then factor in the thing that you've actually got to get all those artworks framed up ready. So you've got to pay out for the frame, even if it doesn't sell.
Yeah.
So, but it can be a real buzz seeing your work hung up, especially when people buy it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I am in a strange situation at the moment where a gallery's concerned, and it's almost enough to put me off the idea of ever bothering again to work with one. In that I had a real high when a gallery came along to my art studio and took away 8 paintings, and then I saw them in their window. Amazing. Whether or not they've been displayed in there ever since, I don't know. Whether or not they've been knocking around the basement, I don't know. Whether they're damaged, I don't know. I've no idea about these paintings, and I have tried contacting them on several occasions and finally managed to get a reply. And I've said, I need to collect my paintings. Obviously, it's not working where you are. Thank you for having them. But my real issue was the lack of contact with them. And they've sort of said, I've got to go and collect some of them from someone else because we gave them to some other people to give you extra, exposure. I just thought, I think you're absolutely lying to me.
Yeah. Are they in storage or something?
Now, this is a supposedly reputable gallery in a very, very posh area in Tunbridge Wells. The way they are dealing with an artist is pretty bloody poor, really. So I'm very anxious, and I've had to literally say to him, right, I'm going to come to your gallery on between this date and that date. You pick a date when I can come and get them. Yeah. And then he has come back and said, oh, yeah, come and get them on the 7th. That's fine.
Yeah.
And until I've got them back, I've got no idea what's gone on with them. I don't know. But since then, I've aired my issues with my photographer, the one that takes the photos for my prints. And he said that very recently he's been dealing with another artist who gave their stuff to a gallery, not that gallery, but a gallery, and has said that when they came back, they had scuffs and knocks on the corner, and the backs had holes in where they didn't before, and the canvases had stretched where they'd been kept in a damp place. I remember years ago I was in a gallery in Eastbourne for a while, and he had a basement, and in the basement there was just stacks and stacks of paintings, all just like lent up on the floor against the wall. And I remember thinking at the time, you'd think really they'd be wrapped and put on a rack or something, and
lifted off the floor,
anything, but it wasn't. So that was a bit strange. So that was a high when they came to collect it, but right now I'm not sure I ever want to go with a gallery again. I think my gallery is going to be on my website, and that's that. So I mean, I've got some just in a little local one, but it's kind of run by the local art group. So I think it's slightly different there. It's a little bit more trust because, everybody in there is an artist and it's a non-profit type thing. Yeah. But it's not highbrow, not like obviously your one. But what I do find in there, which is really nice, is that I can just take... I bought a browser, like the wooden browsers that you can put prints in. Yeah. But they said, if you want, you can have your own browser. They've got some shared ones, or you can have your own and just put your own prints in. So I got on really cheap online, about, I don't know, £35 or something. So I can just have my prints stored there. And I've been selling probably one a week. I know it's not much, but a print a week. Yeah. So, I mean, it's nice just to have a little bit of something coming in from there. Yeah. And someone's, people seeing your work as well, sort of thing. Yeah, that's great. So, yes. So another high.
Did I do that one or did you? I did, didn't I?
Yes. So, well, unless you want to carry on, I'm happy.
No, you're right.
Another thing, and this is where I'm going to struggle with the painting I've done, because I've actually been sharing quite a bit of the progress of this painting I've been doing, sort of from start to finish, really. So there's no aha moment when I finally reveal the finished cupcake on social media, because people have watched it happening and watched it each stage. So when I finally go, oh, and here it is, there's not going to be much, oohs and ahs going on, because they've just seen it. But what I was going to say was the high of revealing your finished piece on social media, and I guess this would be if you've done something much more clever than I have and just shown little bits of it, little pieces of it, and never actually shown the whole big thing, so that when you put it up, people are like, wow, I love that, or oh gosh, I didn't expect it to look that big, or I didn't, So that's lovely. That's a real high, isn't it? You put it out there and you're like, yes, I've done it. Here it is. And you're sort of left standing there, naked in a field, waiting to see what other people are going to say. That's how it feels, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And of course, the high is when you get lots and lots of amazing, lovely comments and likes, and people are engaging with you, saying, oh, I really like that, and oh, that would look so nice in my kitchen, or la la la. Yeah, that's a real high. I love that. What's not so good is when you do that and it's tumbleweed. You put it out there and it's like, which is basically what happened on TikTok. See, TikTok, I just say, whenever I put an art one out, it was tumbleweed, never got anything. No one was interested at all. And I think it's more about being funny on TikTok, isn't it? Whereas they're not interested in art. So on Instagram, you get far more engagement when it comes to things like art and stuff like that. But still...
Have you tried pushing more on Facebook? Because I now think of Instagram as a secondary platform. And
yeah.
My focus is Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'll get a lot more engagement. I'll get engagement on Instagram, but it's all artist.
Right.
If I post on Facebook, I'll get a mixture. I'll get a mixture of artist and non-artist.
Well, I tend to do that. If I put something on Instagram, I tend to put it on my Facebook page as well, to be honest. I do. So I kind of just double up. But
I'll go first to Facebook. Facebook is now my native, as in what I concentrate on.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably put it on Instagram, possibly, as well.
Do you use those Instagram threads? No, it's weird.
I did join up, but I didn't use it then.
I joined up, and then loads of people started following me, and I haven't done anything. I don't think it's going to take off, to be honest. I don't think most people know what it is. I don't really understand why it's there, but anyway.
It's just like Twitter, isn't it?
I guess
it's their version of Twitter.
Yeah. So yeah, revealing your finished piece of art on social media is a great feeling, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't get much response at all. But of course, that could just be about, and this is the frustrating thing about social media, is the algorithm, isn't it? It's what time you post, and what time your audience is on, and all this. I wish social media was literally just whoever posted last is up first. I wish it was like that, but it's not. So unfortunately, we do have to rely on the planets aligning, and in order for it to get to the right people. And it can feel very deflating when you put something up that you're proud of and then you get no engagement. So that can be a bit of a low afterwards, because you've put yourself out there and you sort of feel a little bit deflated, don't you?
Yeah. I'm having a really weird thing happen on Pinterest at the moment. I did mention this the other week, but whenever I'd been posting stuff before, I'd always put it on Pinterest as well. But I was getting very, very little engagement, and I was getting, well, not engagement as such, but not that many, views and likes or whatever. And I was getting maybe 11,000 views or something a month, I think it was. And then I went on there the other week, and it had gone up to 180,000 views.
Wow.
I go, what? Anyway, I went on today, 300,000. And some of the stuff that I posted quite a long time ago is suddenly taking off a little bit.
Do you know, I never think
really
about
weird.
going on Pinterest, and I have got Pinterest, but on my Pinterest page is mainly a load of old stuff that painted years ago. And I part wonder really if I should take all of that off and start again.
Well, just post anything that you post into Facebook to
Yeah.
Pinterest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although most of the images that I get stolen and used in places it shouldn't be used, as promoting products and things in Japan and Saudi Arabia and Nigeria and all those other places,
Yeah.
they've taken them from Pinterest almost always.
Oh, have they?
So yeah.
Don't know.
But anyway, yeah, it's just another thing, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. So many different things. Okay. Another high is watching other artists create stuff on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else, or YouTube even, or in a book. I mean, you could just sit for hours, can't you? Because there's just so many amazing artists, especially when you find someone new that you really like, or you really like the way they do things.
Yeah.
Or you learn a new technique maybe on there. And I think that's absolutely amazing. But there's also the downside of it, because not only are you spending so much time watching this artist, you're not actually making anything yourself, but also you do end up comparing yourself if you're not careful. And I was actually hearing someone talk about this the other day, and the person saying to me, we just need to stop looking at it so much. And of course, it's the obvious answer, but they make it so addictive, don't they?
They do.
And you do get the old jealousy thing kicking in.
Well, I think it's more just an awe, isn't it? And you're so in awe of someone else that you sort of feel suddenly that you're nowhere near as good, and then it can deflate your confidence, can't it?
Yeah, unworthy.
But there's always people thinking that about you as well, but you just don't realise that. And the beauty of art is it's also different, isn't it? But I know what you mean. You know, I think specifically as well when it comes to sketchbooks, because when you're a beginner and you're sketching and you look through, all right, I'm going to find some sketchbook posts because that will inspire me. But actually what happens is you'll find some posts on Instagram and places like that where someone's doing a sketchbook tour. And basically what it is it's like an art gallery in a book. It's beautiful portfolio of beautiful drawings and exquisite sketches, and everything looks perfect, and just that is not really what a sketchbook is. I mean, that's probably their best sketchbook, or it might be one where they do specific things, but most artists have got a sketchbook somewhere that's just full of old scribbles and scrappy pictures, and some that have worked, some that haven't, but you're not really seeing that. So it gives you this impression that artists just sketch really, really quickly and come up with this amazing, beautiful sketch, and you can't do that. The reality is not a lot of people can do that, to be honest. There's some people that can. No,
it's the cream of the crop you're seeing as well. That's the thing, isn't it? You're seeing the best artist. Whereas years ago, the only way you'd have seen those best artists would have been in a book or an exhibition, wouldn't it?
Exactly. So it's hard. Like you say, I love reading art books. I love watching work being created on YouTube. I enjoy that so much. But you've just got to be careful about that old comparisonitis thing that we can get, because you are not them, they are not you. And what you can't do, you know, that they do, maybe they can't do what you do. It's just, you know, everyone's different.
Too much do. That's all it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Is it your turn or is it mine?
No, it's yours.
Is it mine?
It's
okay.
Yours.
So, oh no, you see now, this is definitely more of a you thing than a me thing. Go on, I think you should read the next one.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my highs, anyway, and I'm sure a lot of other people have it too, is learning something new and getting a complete buzz out of it. Now, that could be that you just mastered how to create some video for your art, or some new way of doing a photo or whatever. Or it could be some new technique or new way of painting that you've learned. I mean, I remember when I discovered those Posca mops that I was talking about before and trying those out, and it's like, oh, I love this. It's not just a new material, but it opens up a new way of doing things for me. So I absolutely love that, and I can't even think of the downer for it. Oh dear, what's the downer for that?
Well, no, because if you get a buzz out of learning something, there can't be anything wrong with learning something new because you've learnt something. Can't be a low, can there? I suppose the only low,
shiny object. Object.
The only low could be if it then confuses you and you're like, oh no, what am I going to do next time? Then am I going to use this technique or that one? I don't know. I know that you love learning new things and you do get a proper buzz, don't you? And I think that's why you're constantly seeking to evolve. Because you need that, don't you? And it is good. It's an aha moment. I know exactly what you're saying because there are things I've learnt during my time as an artist that have happened by accident, and I've learnt something purely by accident, just by making or what I thought might be a mistake was actually worked really well. And I thought, wow, I'm going to use that in the future, and that's brilliant. It is a high because you feel like you've suddenly jumped a step forward. So there is no low when it comes to that at all. No. So I'm gonna talk about when someone buys a piece of art, whether that's an original or a print, because there is nothing better than when somebody has put their hand in their pocket to own something you've created. It's the ultimate compliment about your work, isn't it? And about, how they feel about what they're seeing, and it means so much. It really does, because well, at the end of the day, there's no point in creating all this stuff if no one likes it. You want people to like it, don't you? It's not just, you can argue that it's all about just creating for the sake of creating. Yes. I'm not sure everyone's particularly telling the truth when they say that, because ultimately we do need to sell. We want to sell and we need to sell our stuff.
Well, if we're doing it for that.
If we're doing it for that.
Or just doing it for fun.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking about, obviously artists who are trying to sell. No, absolutely, I agree with that. But, when somebody buys something, oh, wow, it's just amazing. You're like, oh, that's amazing. The low about that is there's two lows, really. The first one is if it's a piece you really like, which most of the time it is because you wouldn't sell it otherwise, you suddenly realise, oh, my God, I'm never going to see that again. That's it. That piece of original art that I've created is going, and I will never see it again. And all of that time I put into it, gone. I know you can have a print and everything like that, but there's something about that I find a bit of a. I
get that.
No, well, I suppose it depends how much time you invest into something as well, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. I really like some pieces that have sold, but I know what you mean, because you've invested so much time into one piece, probably.
Yeah, and the other low is that when you sell something, you're like, great, I've sold something. Oh no, now I've got to work out postage. I've got to especially when it comes to big canvases, packaging and making sure that it's insured. And oh my God, what if it gets damaged on the way? And I've got to go to the post office, and there's that sort of like, do you know what I mean? Which I think
it's ridiculous.
It's kind of like, I've sold something, brilliant. Oh no, but that's where it is great to be in a gallery, because you're like, they'll do it all for you. It's brilliant. But yes, so
I always dream that one day I'll get to the point where I'm selling so much that I can have a personal assistant and I can just say, go pack that, will you? Wouldn't that be lovely?
It really would. God, if only. If only. Yeah. We've got a high left and a low left. Would you like to do the high? Because I know you're a happy-go-lucky person.
About the making connections, that
one?
Yeah. Yeah, so another high is the ability nowadays to make connections with both other artists and potential buyers. Both really nice. So, we would never have met had it not been for the internet.
No.
And that's connecting with you that way. But there's so many artists, and you'll find most artists online, as long as they're not too popular so they don't have time, if you have a query, a question, anything about anything, they'll usually answer you if you send them a message. which is really, really helpful to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And also, it's so nice to connect with potential buyers who like your work. I mean, I've been really, not surprised is not the right word, but lately I've had people that constantly comment on my stuff, and it's so nice to feel that they're supporting you, even if they're not yet buying your art, that they obviously like your art enough to follow you and comment on everything that you do.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. It is really nice making connections, and also because they're in the same boat as you, we all go through these highs and lows, don't we? So you can sort of share it with people who actually understand. And I know we do talk about Instagram being very much, you are really talking to artists essentially more than you are buyers. But at the same time, you can kind of, it's a nice way of making some connections. And some people really put out some of their struggles, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And I like that. I like the vulnerability they're willing to show, and it makes you feel less like you're the only one that perhaps is going through a dry spell or a spell where things aren't going so well. Which takes me to the low, which is left, which is when you are going through a phase like that where absolutely nothing is working, and actually you feel like your art is going backwards. And that can be whether you are working prolifically or not, or whether you've just got a bit out of practice. But when you're working a lot, and then all of a sudden you think you do a sketch that is horrible, or a drawing or a painting that just doesn't go well, it can make you feel like you've totally lost your ability, and somehow you've forgotten how to do it. It's funny how it works, but
I mean, there is a positive to that, because you do get when you're in the zone. I mean, I've had periods where I know that pretty much everything I paint, for maybe like a month or something, it just goes lovely. But then you get that other thing, and just like, oh my God, everything's awful.
Isn't it weird how it works?
Yeah.
It's definitely, there definitely does seem to be a bit of a pattern where it's almost like you have to go through the lows to experience the highs, don't you, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think so.
But it is totally normal. Just to end that on a positive note, if you actually are in one of those zones at the moment where nothing's going right and you feel like you're going backwards, it is absolutely normal, and you will turn around again, and it will be okay. It's just seems to be something that happens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes as well, you just need a break.
Different and shake it up.
Yeah, exactly. There are ways to deal with it. I think we've done episodes on this before as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
Ways to sort of, turn a corner again.
Come out of blocks and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I think we're done. Is there anything else?
No, I was going to say, shall I read out the question we had last time?
Yeah.
Which was, how quickly do you lose motivation once you've had an idea, and how do you beat that?
So I've got Jackie Husi Palutsky. I can never say your name, Jackie. You know I can't. That's a loaded question. I think I lose motivation when, 1, I start doubting my ability to produce what I imagine, the imposter voice, etc. 2, the mood for the particular piece is gone. For example, you're doing something with a lot of detail and you get the urge to go and do something more expressive. Unless you're a professional doing commissions, you can do that and follow your mood. Number 3, too many distractions. Phone, people at home interrupting the zone you're in. I suppose it all comes down to discipline. Yeah, definitely.
Right, and I'm going to get this name wrong as well. Mac Dawork. I'm sorry, I've really crucified that.
I reckon it's Mikey, maybe? I don't know.
Do you think?
Or Mika.
Mika, maybe Mika.
Maybe.
I don't actually lose my motivation ever. Sometimes I may not feel like creating for whatever reason, but I always have a whole pile of ideas. I often make preliminary sketches to be worked on at a later date. Once the idea is there, I make sure to store it. That's what we were talking about last time, weren't we?
Yeah.
Life sometimes happens, and sometimes it may take a while, but at some point I always manage to get back to it.
And I've got Carol Whitmore. I started using an affirmation in my morning pages. I am my best source of motivation. My journey in flow. Accept embrace, release my being the only one who is truly responsible for me. I am the only one who can really do or not do what is for me. So if I want to, I will. If I don't, then it's really all okay, as long as there is a flow to what I'm doing.
I've got Rob Myers. I think most creatives are monkey-minded. One idea tends to lead to a better one than another one. I've learned that writing down your ideas helps, so you can always quickly get back to it in the end.
And Andy W. Art. I generally work to 2 principles. Number 1, is it enjoyable? Number 2, is it part of a bigger goal? If a project fits those, preferably both, motivation flows. If it doesn't, I expect to lose motivation very quickly. But there are always lessons to be learned before planning another new thing, as long as you are honest with yourself.
Okay, I've got Sierra Killam. I often find that as soon as the challenge is gone, so is the motivation. So if I'm inspired to catching a certain look or light on an object, and I do it, then my motivation to complete the rest of the painting will dip. And I don't know if I've read that out right, have I?
Yeah.
So if I'm inspired to capture a certain look of light on an object and I do it, then my motivation to complete the rest of the painting will dip. Oh, I see, because she's done the fun bit.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes. Once that happens, the painting gets finished because I have commitments and expectations, but not necessarily because I'm inspired to keep going.
I kind of get that.
Yeah, I do too. That's
So
like when I used to try and practice guitar and I'd learn a little bit of it, but I found the rest of the song a bit boring, so I'd just play that little bit.
Yeah, that's so you, that is.
Yeah, I know.
I've got AJ Designs 303. Excitement wears off with everything, even awesome art ideas. Passion and believing in the idea is what keeps me going. Excitement gets you started, but fades when you get to the ugly phase of a project. But passion endures through the mistakes, obstacles, doubt, tediousness, and problem solving. Passion connects with our identity, unlike the fleeting emotion of excitement. The more you place yourself into an idea, the more you'll believe in it, the more passion you'll have, and the more likely you'll follow through. I'm not saying throw your whole self into your project and ideas, but a certain amount of care is a must. Absolutely. So anyway, we have a brand new question to you listeners today, and that question is, what has been your highest high of being an artist, and what has been your lowest low? So what has been your highest high of being an artist, and what has been your lowest low?
And as always, you'll find the question in the Facebook group, which if you haven't already joined, I suggest you do. We'll put the question up there, also on the Facebook page, and of course on Instagram, which is Kicking the Creatives. And we'll read out the best answers in the next episode.
So we hope that gave you the kick in the creatives you needed. Don't forget to pop over to our website at kickingthecreatives.com to find out how you can take part in some of our upcoming creative challenges. And of course, there you can also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we'd be really grateful if you'd leave us a review on iTunes or whatever you're listening to us on right now, or even just a star rating if you don't have much time, as long as it's 5. And if you want to find either myself or Tara online, I'm on Instagram as sandra.busby. My website is sandrabusbyart.com, and my Facebook is Sandra Busby Artist. Tara?
Yeah, you can find me on my website, tararoscoeart.com, on Instagram and Facebook, and everywhere else as Tara Roscoe Art. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to our Kicking the Creatives newsletter, where you can find out about all the challenges and the podcast, and you can do that on our website. Also, we've released a course, which is how to create characters and cartoons for fun. You can find a link to the course on our website, or go to kickingthecreatives.com/cartoon course, where you can find out more.
And if you enjoy what we do and you'd like help to support the costs of Kicking the Creatives, you can now do so by buying us a coffee. And you can find the Ko-fi link on our website. Thank you so much, Joanna Brown, again, for your contribution. Really, really appreciate that. And again, Carol R., thank you so much for your contribution. We really, really appreciate it. And for those of you who can't help us in that way, there are things you can do. You can share the episodes you like with other creatives or creative groups. Write us a nice review. It all helps, so we really appreciate any support you can give. But that's it for today, and we'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes.